nice. Have you guys been to the museum before, or is this your first trip out? That's awesome. Nice. Did you drive? You didn't drive this morning, did you? It's a bit of a hike. Are we live? I think we're live. Hey everybody, good morning, welcome. This is my live stream today. My name is Eric Meek. I'm a glassmaker here at the Corning Museum of Glass, and I'm planning on doing something that I haven't done for a while, so everybody cross your fingers. Hopefully it'll turn out well. I'm going to be making sort of a compote, a big chalice sort of thing with some seahorses in the stem. So we're going to be putting this together, so I have 3 seahorses in the stem. Helping me out today is Jeff Mack, Chris Rochelle, Catherine Ayers, and Katie Hubbs. So I've got a wonderful team, and I'm really excited to work through this project. I haven't practiced, so everybody, yeah, I'm sure it's going to go just fine. Now, we're going to do something a little different for this live stream. Actually, not for this live stream, but for the video that's posted after. So the museum has been doing these live streams every week. You know, we'll do a what we call a Bring the Heat demo, which features one of our artists, and then on the other weeks we're doing a You Design It, We Make It. But it takes about a week for those live streams to make it onto YouTube. So we're going to try something new in about a week. We're actually going to be doing a giveaway. So I'm making a piece here that's going to have a nice little seahorse like this. And what we like to do, so when the video is posted in a week, if you check it out on YouTube, if you like and you comment and you subscribe, you're going to be entered in a little drawing to win this guy, to win this nice little seahorse that I made yesterday. This is the same seahorse that I'm going to be using in the same style of seahorse that I'm going to be using in the stem of this piece. So that's going to be open for about a week where you can comment and be entered to win this. So make sure you check us out on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, write a little comment. We're going to ask you what your favorite sea creature is. I really love seahorses. I think they're just wonderful, mystic little animals, and I'm really attracted to making this piece because I think these are just some crazy, unique creatures. But if you were a glassmaker and you can make a sea creature, what would you make? That's what we want to hear from you on our channel, so check us out. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to get started. I've already made a couple of seahorses. Again, this is going to be a piece that has 3 seahorses in the stem. I've made 2. I'm going to make 2 more to start out the project. And then we'll be making the base of the piece. We'll stack the seahorses on it. And then we'll be making the bowl with this ball. And then we'll be putting it all together. So it should probably take an hour and a half or so, maybe a little bit longer. So thank you again for tuning in to the live stream. Thanks for checking us out on YouTube. And here we go. All right, so we melted a nice green colored glass in our color furnace over here. Jeff, what did we use to make this green? Iron, chrome, and copper. So all of our different colors are made with metallic compounds, and this one has iron, chrome, and copper. Just to make the seahorse stand out a little bit, I'm using some frit here. I'm rolling in some pale light blue frit. Also narrating today is Catherine, so I'm probably going to talk more in the beginning and talk less as things get a little more intense here. Catherine, how you doing today?
Doing great. I'm ready for you to bring the heat.
Bring the heat. I have a confession to make to everyone.
What's that?
I don't know if we can do this live on YouTube or not, but I actually don't get a chance to blow a lot of glass anymore. I'm sort of involved in the logistics of the demonstration programs here at the museum, and I don't blow glass nearly as much as I'd like. I guess I'm kind of making an excuse for myself in case this doesn't turn out. We're using our auto blowers, so we have, in this COVID time, obviously we're wearing masks, like we asked all of our guests to wear masks, and for the past year, about now, we've been using these little pneumatic devices with a foot-controlled solenoid, which introduces air at just the right pressure and just the right volume into the pipe. They're really clever, and they've worked out very well. But I really am looking forward to the time when we can stop using them. Catherine, what does the team say? Do we think we'll still use the auto blowers when we don't have to wear masks anymore?
You know, in the first couple of months, everyone was like, we can't wait to go back to the way we blew glass before. But now everyone's saying they're really comfortable with this new system, and they will probably use it more than they think. That's probably going to be your biggest challenge today, Eric, because you've blown glass for what?
Right, it's really the last time I blew glass.
Over 20-some years, and you haven't had much practice with the new system, but...
Yeah, I've done a couple of demos here and there, but not nearly as much as you guys. It is pretty intuitive, though.
Yeah.
If you got the pressure set right. When I first started out, I was doing this delicate stuff, and the pressure was set up for making larger pieces, and it had inflated a little quicker than I wanted it to, but I think we got it dialed in now. So, making the body of the seahorse here. I'm setting this up in a Venetian style. Setting up the body of the seahorse is like setting up a bunch of different mythical creatures in the Venetian style. Make a dragon in a similar way. All right, Chris, let's put the wrap on there. I love this part. It's always fun to do roller wraps, but I love how the roller wrap gives the seahorse its spiny texture.
Chris brings over a hot blob of that green glass. They stick it on, and then this roller wrap machine tracks the pipe, and so the line is really even and nice and tight. And you can adjust the rollers on that machine so the lines are closer together or further apart, but they're always really evenly spaced.
We're doing all kinds of stuff with wraps right now because Spiral Arts just came out with this amazing little roller wrap machine that's indexed and so easy to adjust, and it's even magnetic, so you just set it on the marber and it sticks right where it's supposed to stick. The thing is amazing. So flattening out my little seahorse guy here. Start to get the initial body form.
How many seahorse will be on this compost, Eric?
We're going to do 3.
Nice.
Yep, a trifecta of seahorses. I can never make something like this without thinking about or mentioning the fellow who taught me to do it, taught a lot of people how to work in this style, and that's a guy named Elio Quarisa. Elio was a glassmaker from Murano, and an incredibly generous and sweet and humble guy who would come over to Corning pretty much every winter and summer and share what he knew about making glass in the Venetian style. And so there's a whole bunch of people out there who had the pleasure of working with Elio and learning how to do some of these amazing little things, little techniques, little creatures. Elio passed away, gosh, nearly 10 years ago now? 2011. Yeah, 10 years. But hardly a time goes by when I pick up a blowpipe when I don't think about him. He just had a really wonderful nature and a wonderful approach to making glass. A lot of people say this, but when he said it, it seemed to resonate that, the glass reflects the energy that you put into it. So you have to come into the shop with a clear mind and the right intent, and then your glass will turn out nice. So we'll see how my intent is today. Thanks, Jeff. So obviously the part on the punny down here is the tail. Well, maybe not obviously. And then the part that I'm heating up right now will be the head. I just want to warm this up and stretch it out so this is a little less bulky. These little torches help get some focused heat where you want it to be. The other 2 seahorses I made are, I have a caliper so I can tell how tall they need to be. This guy's a little chunkier, but I think that's okay.
Yeah, with these small little detailed objects, it's important to preheat the one section because once you go in that oven, everything gets very hot. So you can see he preheated that neck area, so the rest looks a little cooler, but that neck is the part that's very hot.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
So Eric's going to start adding some fins and details, maybe the face.
You ready with the eyeballs here?
So Chris will bring over some of that hot glass fresh from the furnace. Katie's going to bring over some little marini that they'll use for eyes. So I think it's a yellow over a black. Yep. And so they pre-made the eyes. That's why the seahorse will have very detailed eyes. And there's the little tiny specks on that paddle. So he'll grab them with the tweezers, little tiny bits, sticks them right in the hot glass, kind of gives them a little press. They stick in there really well. And it goes back to the heat to really melt them in. have a question from home. Chris was gathering a beautiful sort of emerald green from a furnace that we have that green glass in. And then he rolled through a pale light blue, which Eric chose. So they're layering the colors. So they've got the emerald green in the background and then that pale light blue frit on top. So that'll create sort of a speckled look or a mottled look. It's very orange when it's hot, but watch when he squeezes it. It gets a little darker. When he cuts it, it gets a little darker. By the time he's finished shaping, we've lost all that orange glow and it's now green colored. That's his working time. It's like, what, less than 30 seconds. He's got to work really quickly going through all those steps. So this is something when you learn from a master. Stick it on, cut it free, crimp it. Cut it, pinch it. They just go through all these little steps.
Seahorses actually have a little fin right on their back, but these guys are going back to back on the stem, so I'm using some creative license and I'm putting fins on the side. Actually, it's funny, if you look up seahorses on Google Images, there's hardly two seahorses that look alike. I mean, there's all kinds of these little creatures. My kids are really into octonauts. Great show if you're into sea creatures. I highly recommend it. Sorry, Chris, I need another beat here. I don't know if I can endorse octonauts on YouTube. I'm sorry if we have to, cut that out.
So for those of you who are just joining us in the amphitheater, this is Eric Meek. He's sitting at the bench and he's going to be making a beautiful piece today. It's a pretty complicated piece. It's going to take about an hour and a half or so. And the stem of this, it's going to be a bowl with a stem and a foot, and the stem are going to be these 3 seahorses. And so I think he's pre-made some of the seahorses, and this is the 3rd one. He might make a few more, I'm not sure. You can see it's got someone up in the AV booth, and they're tracking the cameras, and we're getting all these detail shots because this is pretty small, so it's nice to have the view up there on the screen. We're also live streaming. We do that every Wednesday. And this program is called Bring the Heat. So there's the seahorse. They're going to put it away into a garage. How about a big round of applause? Yeah! Step 1.
Step 1 of about 50. We'll do that again. 1 more seahorse, then we'll have 4 in case one of them decides to leap off the plate at some point. Got to back up.
So our Bring the Heat demonstration, we like to feature some of our glass makers here at the Corning Museum of Glass. And Eric has been here for many years. When did you start working with glass, Eric?
Working with glass or working here?
Working with glass in the hole.
I started working with glass in 1991, which makes this, yeah, a couple of years since I started.
And then you've been here at the museum for?
I started at the museum in, I think, 2002 or 2003.
Nice.
Working the summer times. It's so fun. Right now we're in the process of hiring some glass makers for the summer. And I can remember exactly what it felt like to come and talk to the folks at Corning about working for the summer. All right, we're gonna make this hollow. I'm stepping on the little foot pedal here. There it went, just blew up a little bit. I think that's important to say. If any glassmakers are watching this, is that there's always work to be had at Corning over the summers. We're looking forward to having a busy summer again as we're coming through the coronavirus and starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we're anticipating some strong visitation. We're still going to be wearing masks, of course, but we anticipate pretty good visitation this summer. And so if you're a young glassmaker, please think about us if you're looking for a place to get some more experience in the summer times. There's always some work to be had here.
Yeah, it's a great summer job. You've got all the resources of the museum, the collections, the library, and then all the experienced glassmakers that come through Corning on any given day in a summer here in Corning. Great place to learn more and develop some more of your skills. So if at any point you have any questions, let us know here in the audience, or for those of you who are watching at home, Amanda's monitoring all of our streaming platforms, and she will pass on any questions that she can't answer. She can answer most of them, but any questions that she can't answer, she'll pass on to the team. So shoot those out to us. Every other Wednesday we're going to do a You Design It, We Make It. And we're continuing those through the summer as well. And so next week is the You Design It, We Make It. And you can submit drawings and have your drawing maybe chosen to be made by one of our glassmakers. And then for those of you who are just joining us again, Eric talked a little bit about this in the beginning, but he made this little seahorse yesterday. It's just like the seahorse that he made, that he's going to be making for the stem of this bowl. And this little piece is going to be given away to one of our subscribers. So if you, in a week or so when this put out on YouTube, you can comment, like, and subscribe to our channel, and you get entered into a drawing to win this little seahorse that he made earlier. So definitely check that out.
Remember, the comment we're looking for is, what sea creatures would you make if you were a glassmaker? Or if you are a glassmaker? What sea creatures do you love? Jeff, how about you?
I like those fish with the flashlights on their head.
The anglerfish?
Anglerfish.
Yeah, anglerfish.
Yep. I haven't asked him, but I know my 6-year-old, if we asked him what he would make, he would say an anglerfish. He's into those too. And my 4-year-old would probably say a blobfish.
Sharks are always pretty sweet.
I think I've actually made some blobfish in the glass shop before. No, not on purpose.
Yeah, there are some animals and different things that are more suited for the glass material, and sea creatures tend to be one of them. They look really nice in glass. Two weeks ago, Chris Rochelle, one of our glassmakers, made an octopus on a rocket. So you can check that video out. Once you go to rewatch Eric's video, you're gonna see hundreds of glassmaking videos on our YouTube channel, and there's endless hours of demonstrations, guest artists.
You know what? Our YouTube content director, Mandy, is the one who thought up this giveaway scheme, and I have a secret. I have a feeling that she did it because we're closing in on 200,000 subscribers.
Oh, wow.
I think she wants to hit 200,000.
Yeah.
It's within reach. I don't know what we're at, but we're getting close.
It's nice because you can't make it to the museum every Wednesday. Or maybe you can. You're pretty lucky if you can, but Steve Byers would definitely be here every Wednesday if he could.
I selected this color, thank you, Amanda. I selected this color, it's because it's what we had in the pot. Yeah, leftovers from St. Patrick's Day. So, I think one thing glassmakers learn early on is that most people don't like green glass. I shouldn't say that. Some people like green glass, and that's fine. But it may not be one of the more popular colors. But you know what? I really love the seahorses in green. I think they look great.
It's appropriate for a seed.
It's very appropriate for a seahorse. They're all about the camouflage.
And do you sketch these items out before you make them?
You know what? No, I don't. That's back there on the whiteboard is the first sketch I made of this piece. I think if I were going to make something a little less traditional, I might have, but this is pretty formulaic, sort of Venetian style. I'm not breaking any ground here, any artistic ground, and so I didn't sketch it out. And I've never been a big sketcher. I've said in the past, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've been blowing glass longer than I've been sketching, so it's easier sometimes just to pick up a pipe and work something out in clear if you need to work through an idea, but I don't know. I don't even know if that's true anymore.
What I've found is it doesn't really translate. You can sketch something and it can give you the idea of proportions and everything, but then it doesn't really translate into the glassmaking process. And I found a lot of times I won't sketch the piece, but I might sketch the steps to get to the final project.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I gotta cut that down just a little bit, Chris. Sorry.
Because you could draw something a million times and then you sit down at the bench, you
Actually,
don't have
yeah,
a
you can
pencil, you've got shears, tweezers, a reheating oven, and a bench. So, and no eraser. So I think this is someone that just joined us because I think Eric talked a little bit about this in the beginning, about what inspired him to make this piece.
With this piece in particular, I mean, I've known this live stream has been coming up for a long time for me, and I had aspirations of doing something out of my comfort zone, but then, I mean, again, full disclosure, I didn't really dedicate the time to doing that, and so I went back to something I'm very familiar and comfortable with, which is making these little sea creatures. You know, again, I talked earlier about the time I've spent with Elio. I assisted him for many classes, and I just love this process. I love making these things, and so really what inspired me is the process, of course, and then you know, I've talked about my kids a couple of times, but I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and now thinking about them is always part of what I do. What would interest them and excite them, and what they'd like to see Dad make on a YouTube video, and you know, these little sea creatures are something that they can relate to, and that makes me interested in making these as well. This one's got a little extra material down here I'm going to get rid of. Sorry, Chris, just a few extra steps here. We have a question in the audience, Catherine.
What happens to the glass after he knocks it off? That little bit of extra glass we'll recycle. We're not going to necessarily recycle it right back into our furnace, but we donate it to a company. They grind it up and use it for different things. But yeah, all our glass scrap gets recycled, and there's not too much of it. If you look in that, there's probably just a few little pieces at the end of the day in that little scrap bucket. So we are pretty conscious about saving the material. That's why that little bucket is right there in front of the furnace. So if we have any clear glass, when we come out of the furnace, we need to get rid of some of it. We drip it right off into that clear bucket, and then all that clear can go right back into the furnace. Yep. And Eric was talking about maybe trying pieces in clear before you made them. So, instead of sketching it out on paper, you might try it a few times in clear. That way, if it doesn't turn out the way you expected, or you want to just switch things up, or you didn't like it at all, you can recycle that right back into the furnace. So, yeah, a lot of our sketching happens in clear glass because that's our eraser. It can go right back into our furnace.
Sorry.
Yeah, another question was, is there a limit to how much you can recycle the glass? And after a while, the glass starts to become less soft and more stiff. And so if you're recycling the glass many times, you might want to add maybe some more of the fresh material or more of the flux and the stabilizer, which in this case we're using the soda lime glass, so we're using a silica, soda ash, and limestone mixture. But for us, we'd probably just throw in some of the brand new, fresh material.
Yeah, Chris. What was that?
One of your old teachers said you were sketching all the time in high school.
Oh yeah, well, don't tell my colleagues this, but usually when I'm in a meeting, I'm not taking notes. I'm also sketching,
You're illustrating notes.
All right, let's just get one more good warm over. All right, so next up, we're going to make a ball and a foot and punty that up. Put these little guys on the ball. Put it back in the garage.
Here's a question for you. What's the most aggravating piece you've ever worked on?
The most aggravating piece? Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to say the first thing that comes to my mind. When Jeff and I, many years ago, were learning to make work like this and didn't know what we were doing, I remember like maybe one of the first sort of dragon stem things I did, I don't know if you remember this or not, it was in Sean Messenger's studio in Ohio. We're making a dragon stem or something, and I tapped it off in the box, and it fell apart, and it fell over, and it wiped out some of your stuff. And I took my glasses off, and I threw them across the room, and they shattered. Yeah, so that was aggravating, and it was a good lesson to me that getting mad doesn't make things go easier.
Yeah, that's a good question. Usually it's like, what's your favorite piece that you've ever made, or what's the biggest piece you've ever made? I like that question. What's the most aggravating piece.
That's a good one. On bad days, glass is aggravating. On good days, it's challenging. Again, it depends on your attitude.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
In the summer, it's more aggravating. And when you're wearing a mask, it's a little more aggravating. But it's never not fun. Except when it's not. Except when you're making your 5,000th pumpkin or Christmas ornament for the season.
Wet pants.
In July.
Burns. Yeah.
All right, so. Oh yeah, so he's putting a little bit of texture on the seahorses. Watch this right here. He drops it into the mold.
Oh, where's my pedal?
He steps on the foot pedal.
Way over there.
And it pushes the glass out into the mold. Now, if he was using, okay, but the question, no, it might not be, but the question was, why does he make the seahorse blown instead of solid?
It was blown a little bit.
Right. But was there a reason you chose to make it blown instead of making a solid seahorse?
You know, what I've learned in making these recently is that when you squish them,
Yep.
they squish nicer if they're a little bit hollow.
Nice.
They get a nicer shape. I always learning little things like that.
Yeah, there's always a reason
Oh,
why
thanks.
a glassmaker will do something. The only way to find out is to ask. So thanks for asking that
Are you
question.
trying to optics on the mold or the foot?
No.
Sometimes there's more than one reason too.
Do you want me to bring GOM to you, or do you just set up the foot?
You can set up the foot if you want. Somebody want to bring me a little foot light here? Yeah, just the clear oleo bit.
Clear?
And then saying
Yep.
that there's never one way to do anything in glassmakers. So like a lot of glassmakers will do things different. There's not like a set way to do things. So some people might make them solid, some people might make them blown. And the only way to find out the best way to do it is to do it for yourself, see what
Just a
works
little
for
bit,
you.
Chris, sorry.
What's that? What is he setting up now? I think he's setting up these little balls. So right below the bowl and right above the foot is a little decorative ball.
Thanks.
So we're going to make all the pieces and parts, and then he's going to stick everything together. As a glassmaker, do you ever get used to the heat? You certainly do. I remember being a beginner glassmaker, and I would only wear long sleeve t-shirts because my arms would always get so hot. But you definitely get more used to the heat. And I think some of our beginner glassmakers that come in to work for the summer, it's hard for them to work in the shop all day long.
Go and give that a heat job and trade off.
They're usually just used to working, when
Is
they
that-
have
yeah,
class.
that's big enough,
for a
isn't
couple
it?
hours or so. And then you get a production
I guess
job
not.
and
If it's ready, let's do it.
you work 8 to 5 nonstop. You definitely build up a tolerance for the heat.
This is the weirdest thing when you're doing a blown foot with this blower on. So I've got my foot on the pedal that controls his bubble.
For those of you who are familiar with the glass blowing process, if Jeff brought over this blown foot in a non-pandemic year when you could blow through the pipe, he would have held the pipe up to his mouth. Eric would have dropped it on and said blow. Jeff would have blown, inflated the bubble that way, and then he would have cut the bubble free. But with this new system, they had to use the hose, and Eric still had control, but it was with a foot pedal instead of him asking Jeff to blow, which is a little different to get used to. But when you're so familiar with the process like Eric is, it's really easy to adapt to this new system. It might actually be harder for beginners to adapt to this new system than it would be for Eric.
I knew this would happen because yesterday when I was doing a little practice with Chris, I bragged. I said, oh, I've got glasses, so now I can put feet on straight. And I didn't. I did yesterday. Go ahead and hit it. Thanks. Chris, let's put a little green lip on that. I'm going to blame it on these different glasses. I have 2 pairs of glasses, and one of them is bifocal. I have my bifocals on now. That's what I'm going to blame it on. When you're young, you blame your mistakes on your assistants, and I guess when you've been doing this longer, you can just blame it on your tools. All right. Little green highlight here.
This is a lip wrap. So this will be the lip of the foot. So they're just wrapping a little bit of green around the very edge of the foot. Kind of like this vase here, how it has a blue lip wrap. You can add them to the feet, you can add them to the top of the bowl. They'll probably add both. It'll just be a nice way to tie that green in to the piece. The foot is clear. Yep.
Yeah, just real light on there, Chris.
So we add that lip wrap
Go
on
ahead.
the hole
Go
still
ahead.
small.
Yeah, a little more.
That way when he opens this foot up, see how it
Alright.
stretches and it becomes thinner. See
Favorite color?
Yeah, to work with.
I ain't gonna lie, cobalt blue.
Wow, everybody loves cobalt.
I don't know.
blue.
It's kind of everybody's favorite color. Cobalt blue. It's my favorite color.
Which is that real nice dark.
Actually, there's a blue from I forget who makes it. It's called Sari blue. That might be my favorite color. It's like cobalt blue, only it's got a little, I don't know, would you say a little aquamarine in it?
It's almost a little brighter, yeah.
It's
A little brighter.
yeah.
Tiny little bit of red.
It's a nice color. Is that a Reichenbach?
I think so.
I think so. Sorry. No, not sorry. Not sorry. Sorry.
Very.
There's probably 20 or so blues to choose from.
Okay.
20 or so
A little more, Chris.
pinks and purples. There's hundreds. You go to the
All
catalog.
right, stop.
There's
Okay.
hundreds of glass colors to choose from.
Is that good?
So this is the transfer. They're going to flip this around. This will become the foot. And this onto the foot is when they'll start building up the seahorse stem.
You crack the left side for me. Just open it up. Thanks. Open it farther, please. Katie, open it right up, please. Sorry. Can you open that right up, please? The door, all the way.
So we had a question about our camera and how are we keeping a camera in an oven that's 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit?
Putting a bit on there.
Being
This first.
a glass museum.
I think I probably should put a
it's
little
actually
something in
special
there.
type of glass.
Yeah, it can
It's
be a
not in the
smaller
camera,
one.
it's in the back
It'll
of that
just be
oven.
like a little finial. Yeah.
It's a little window called fused silica. It was developed here in Corning, at the Corning Glassworks in the 30s. It was used in the space shuttle's windshield. It's the very core of optical fibers, the fiber optics.
Chris, who's bringing the fishies? Yeah, Chris, why don't you go get one of those guys set up?
It's
Oh,
just
you're
an
good?
ordinary
Okay.
camera that looks through that window, but it gives us a really unique view of what Eric's got going
Way ahead
on
of me.
inside this reheating oven. So he's going to start removing a little bit of material, adding some bits.
Sorry?
Are you got 3 little blue bits on there?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do a bit for each of the dolphins. Sorry.
Green or
Seahorses.
green or
Clear. Yep. Okay.
All right, so they're going to start bringing the seahorses over and adding little bits of glass as glue. So glass is very sticky when it's hot. So to attach these seahorses, he's going to be using a little bit of our sticky, gooey, molten glass. And then in between, he's got to keep everything
Do you have 3 little bit irons up, Katie?
well over 1,000 degrees, so he's going to be going back and forth from the bench to the reheating oven to keep everything nice and hot.
All right. Let's see what happens here. Go ahead, Katie. Chris? Come up a little bit.
Yeah, the foot in the bowl will be clear with a green lip wrap. All right, so they add that little bit of glass for glue, and then he sticks the first seahorse right into that little, we call it a glue bit. So it's a little blob of hot glass
You want a flash for me, Joe?
that will act as glue. So Jeff's going to jump in and help Eric out by giving him a quick flash heat.
It's so easy to do 1. I gotta do 3. I can
Yeah.
do 4 easy. I can do 2, all right. But 3, I don't know. I always think Mercedes-Benz. Okay, thanks, Jeff. Good tip. All right, one more quick flash and we'll do it, fellas and lady.
So Eric's what we call the gaffer. He's the person in charge, so you can kind of hear him
All right, Katie.
conducting the team. So when he wants the glue bit, he tells Katie to grab a little bit of glue. And Chris knows as soon as she brings that blob over, it's only going to be hot for a certain period of time. So he comes rushing right over. You don't even need to tell him.
Mercedes-Benz. Oh, sorry, there I go with an endorsement again.
Sticks it in the glue.
All right, get them there. Gotta get these guys up to the right height. Same height here.
You can see that glue bit is a little softer than the other one, so the seahorse is moving around a little bit. Gives him that little bit of time to adjust. Yeah.
120 degrees. All right, straighten up, you two. All right.
So when we had a question that when they go back and forth from the bench to the reheating oven, the bits that they already added,
Go ahead,
will they
Katie.
soften in the oven? The one he just added is going to soften a little quicker than the first one he added.
Not too hot, Jim.
So you can see he's like he'll say don't get it too hot because I don't want these seahorses flopping around when it comes back to put the third one on. Yep. So there's the glue bit. But yeah, they do soften depending how long you stay in the oven. That's why it's nice to have an experienced glassmaker helping you because they know just how long to stay in the oven. You don't really have to keep an eye on them.
Yeah.
Just like that, he's got 3 perfectly placed seahorses. What do you think? Nice. Beautiful. Tricky. Yeah, so if they stay in there too long, everything will get
You guys can
hot.
check my work on that camera and see if we got our the spacing right.
Yeah, the reheating oven camera,
think I
the glory
probably
hole
should.
camera is really nice, but it does not hide any of our secrets. So if you put a handle on a pitcher and it's opposite the spout, once you go in that reheating oven,
They're all holding fins. That's just so
Everybody's
sweet.
How do you want to bump this off?
I don't know, Chris. Just get a fork. What do you worry about, Chris?
You want to go upside down with it? Lay down?
Yeah. Yesterday well, this little guy here on the bench, Chris was at the point, we were just making one dolphin on a foot. It wasn't a fancy thing. And we were at the point where we were finishing up.
I think he's going to need a little thing to hold your head.
And Chris is like, I don't think we should do that on the fork. And we were like, it'll be okay, Chris, don't worry. And of course, as soon as Chris put it on the fork and it teetered back and forth a little bit, and then as he was approaching the annealer, it fell off and broke. So that's why I was teasing Chris a little bit about his apprehension for taking this off of the pundy.
He's not scared.
All right, my dolphins look pretty good. My foot's a little funky. I'm gonna try to straighten that out a little bit.
Eric, have you made this many times with dolphin fish? He's probably made these a few times with
I am.
dolphin fish, so he keeps calling the seahorse
I am.
dolphins. The Venetians like
Yeah, I'll build some heat in it. Let's do it after this heat, Jeff. Let's drop it straight up and down. You want to bring me that?
Yep.
pieces with dolphin fish. You'll find it, the dolphin fish in a
Yeah.
lot of like
I think you
Italian
should.
sculptures and things. It's the fish with the water coming out of the mouth. So these pieces are made a lot with dolphin fish as well.
We're anticipating putting a giant bowl on these guys' heads here, so I'm gonna drop a little something down in there. Little doohickey. Now, is that an Italian term?
Doohickey?
There we go. Actually, I should hollow that out just a little bit. Yeah, Chris, you want to give that a nice long heat? Is that fork wide enough, Jeff?
There's a big one in there too.
They're finishing up the stem now. I'm going to put this away into a oven called garage. An oven called garage. And it will keep the piece, the foot and the stem, nice and warm, so that he can make the bowl. And then once the bowl is finished, they'll attach the stem and the foot to the bowl.
Paddle, yeah. Go ahead.
We're going to make sure the foot is running straight.
Nice. It actually worked.
The seahorses
My
are
goodness, I'm amazed.
running perpendicular with the foot. Everything's nice and straight.
You all set, Jeff?
Gotta catch it in these forks. Light tap, pops right off. He carries it quickly and carefully into the garage where it will stay. Getting nice and hot. So now we're, halfway through about?
Can we be done? Like, that worked? No, I'm kidding.
Now for the stressful part of putting it all together. A little time to breathe and relax, regroup.
Amanda, who's watching? Can I say hi? Steve, Rita. How you doing, Rita? It's good to see you. Eileen. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing the course that teachers set you on. I went to a little high school in northwestern Ohio, and I had a lot of good teachers, but I'm gonna say that my German teacher and my art teachers really set me on a great path. I'm sure everybody can relate to having that. There's a couple of teachers that just showed them what more there was to the world in northwestern Ohio. Not that northwestern Ohio isn't great, but it's always good to get your horizons expanded a little bit.
I didn't plug you in, but I changed it.
What's that?
I didn't plug you in, but I changed it.
No, that's okay. I'm just deciding how much glass I need here. I think I'm just going to dip again. So this is going to be the bowl. We're going to make another green ball kind of to punny the bowl on.
One thing we like about these Bring the Heats is the gaffer gets mic'd up. So usually if you were making a piece, you wouldn't necessarily be narrating through the process. But we thought it would be fun to
I think a
hear
counterweight might be too much. We have small counterweights, don't we?
Yeah.
from the glassmaker.
Let's use one of those.
It's a bacon.
UC wants to know, is this going to be a low bowl? UC is a glassmaker that used to.
I'm not doing the fancy Tatsa kind of low bowl. I'm going to do the easy, flared out kind of low bowl. It actually looks better with this piece. The Tatsa wouldn't look quite right. The Tatsa is like the nice, completely concave curve. It doesn't have a flared out lip at all. They're hard to make nice. Hard to make look nice. But yeah, not for this piece. Hopefully it'll be a little nicer than my drawing over there.
UC, we're trying to figure out what time it is in Finland. UC's one of our friends from Finland, and he came and he moved here to Corning for a few years. And 8 o'clock? Oh.
UC, we miss you. It's time to come back.
UC's requesting a Tatsa bowl.
Seems like Finland's kind of a little hotbed for, Finland has a wonderful glass tradition, but I see a lot of sort of contemporary glass coming out of there these days. It's exciting.
5 p.m. What's for dinner? We all miss UC. He moved back to Finland, and he was a fun part of our team for.
I got to say that's the nice thing about Corning, or one of the nice things about Corning is that a lot of people from all over the world come through here now, and we get to meet all kinds of wonderful artists, all kinds of wonderful people who are coming here to work for the company, for Corning Incorporated. It's a great town if you love glass. Even if you don't love glass, it's a great town.
Oh, thank you. Eric's making the bowl. He's using that little bit of glass that he pulled from the tip to kind of pull and stretch the bubble. And he doesn't really need that, so he's going to cut it right off. Stretch it out some more and then cut it off. Then he's also created a constriction line right off the end of the pipe, and that is going to be where he removes the glass from the blowpipe, also become the top of the opening of the bowl. So this is going to be flipped around once to open up the top of the bowl.
Hi.
Set up a green ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So it kind of looks like it's magically inflating, but every now and then he's stepping on this little foot pedal and the bubble gets a little bigger.
It's kind of magic.
It is magic.
All right, now I got to think about proportions. I think if I get this too much bigger, it's going to be too big. My foot isn't huge on that piece.
This is one of our favorite tools. This is the local newspaper, folded up, soaked in water. And you've seen him use tweezers and shears and all these other different tools. This is one of the softest tools on the bench. The tools he's holding in his hands are called jacks.
Don't make that too thin, Jeff. Please.
And they're the tool that glassmakers keep right by their side. They're the first tool the tool they'll use throughout the whole process. Keep beeswax on them. That's the flame you see coming off the metal blades.
Are you spooling it on there?
Yeah.
But the newspaper is one of the
Just gonna
softer
glue it
tools
together.
to use.
Knock it off onto that. Funny this inside. Put it together. All downhill from here. Nice and smooth. The easy part, putting it all together. Chris, can you grab me a little sleeve to open this, one of those greenies? What's that?
Is the bowl size going to be bigger or the same size as the foot?
Oh, it's bigger. Yeah, it's gonna be bigger.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Why do we use beeswax? Beeswax, it's just the material that coats the blades really nicely.
I think it's too small. Yeah, it's smaller than the other one.
I know there's different combinations of
Yeah,
wax
please
that
don't make
some
it too
glass
thin, though.
makers prefer. Some glass
You know
makers
what?
like to put a little bit of
No.
powdered graphite
Do
on
you mind
their
if I do?
jacks. So it's all kind of personal preference. So, but beeswax works really nice. Coats the blades really nicely. It stays on there good. If you don't have any sort of lubrication on the jacks, the metal heats up and wants to start to kind of stick to the glass. And so it's the one metal tool that you do need a little bit of lubrication on. If you get beeswax on the tweezers or the shears or any other tool, they become pretty useless. The tweezers will slip right off the glass. The shears will slip right off the glass. And so we only like to put beeswax or lubrication on those one tools.
Clicky, clicky, click, click. Come on, Bubble.
So they're making that little optic knob
There we
or
go.
ball that goes on the bowl in between the the seahorses and the bowl. So just a little added bit of decoration. They drop it in that optic mold to give it those optic ribs. Drop it back in the mold again. And they'll use those jacks to create the little ball.
everybody at home's probably thinking, Eric just made exactly the same thing that Jeff just made. Why did he? But I feel better about it, just if anyone's wondering. All right, here you go, Jeff. I'll put the bit on that, or do you want to put it on this? I'll put the bit on that and we'll squish it on.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so they're gonna stick these two together with a bit of glass.
Go ahead, Chris.
Hot bit of glass.
Is that cool enough?
Just like with the
Yeah, sorry.
seahorses, they add a little bit of glass. Jeff will bring over the
Yep.
ball, and they'll attach the two together. Timing, temperature, and teamwork. 3 T's of glassmaking. He sticks it on, winds it around, and then by pulling it to a fine thread, it breaks free. That way there's no cold mark from the shear, no mark from the shear as well. Nice, clean, hot glue bit to stick this ball right in. Now the constriction line they made earlier, they're just going to add a few drops of cold water, and with a light tap, pops right out. How about a big round of applause for a nice clean break?
Clean breaks. Everybody loves a nice clean break. Thank you.
The other breaks are more exciting, a lot more scrambling around, more excitement.
The live studio audience, I could feel the energy from our online viewers as well.
I'm
All
sure
right.
you were all cheering at home.
I'm
as
sure.
well.
I'm sure.
Can we get any clapping hand emojis? Yeah, lots. How many? It's hard to count. Can't keep up.
All right. One more
Fine.
lip wrap, punty inside, and we put it all together. I'm going to
So-
trim it a little bit, I think.
From that camera, you can see the small hole that's left behind when he cuts down that constriction line. He doesn't squeeze it down all the way because he knows when he breaks this free, he's got to open up the bowl. And so it's on this little hole. This little tiny hole will become the big opening of the bowl.
Well, we're going to finish early. Or does this only go to 11:30? To 12? I'm afraid I'm going to finish a little early.
Got one more seahorse, put it in the middle of the bowl.
That's true. We could always stick another seahorse somewhere.
There's also time for something to go terribly wrong.
That's true. Thank you, Jeff. There's always time for something to go wrong, and then we'd have to start over. Thank you, everyone, for your positive support. Chris with the great suggestion of sticking the extra seahorse somewhere. All right, let's do that lip wrap. We can make a lid. True. Yeah.
So to match the foot, they're going to add a green lip wrap. These are fun to watch because you can see how gooey and stretchy the glass is. He's going to stick it to the lip and wrap it all the way around, just leaving a nice line of color around the
The kids have Nerf guns.
So now to start opening this bowl, he's going to use a set of, first he's going to make sure that the lip's running
Go ahead,
nice and
Chris.
straight. Chris holds the paddle on the lip
Thanks.
as Eric opens it up. where he might use some tools, but he'll probably also use a little heat and centrifugal force. At certain points you can get the glass hot and just start to spin a little faster, and it'll kind of start to open up on its own. He'll puff it up. This is a Sophietta, hooked up to compressed air. It's a Sophietta cone. Some of them have a tube on the end which you could blow through, but we're using the compressed air because of the mask requirement.
How you feeling about those, the triplets in there, Jeff?
So Eric looks for that little bit of, you can see that little bit of wiggle in the glass. That's
Go ahead.
what tells us that the glass is hot and soft. There's no timer, there's no set amount of time that we can use. We're just watching how the glass starts to move. You might have noticed he switched to a set of parchofis or jacks with wooden dowel rods for blades. And they're much softer on the glass. So if he used the metals, the steel jacks, they might leave some chill marks on the glass, or the pointy tip of the jacks might leave a line or a scar on the glass. And so the wood is so nice and soft, and he can really push the glass from the inside out. So there we go. He's starting to use that centrifugal force, that heat and centrifugal force, just by turning a little faster. See how the lip is kind of pulling open?
Go ahead, Chris.
They'll work together to make sure everything's running straight.
Might try to get in there again.
Just gonna do that again. At this point, if he spins really fast, it'll go right out into a flat plate or a rondelle. And so he's gotta turn nice and even, nice and slow until he's ready to shake it up.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, that's fine. All right, Jeff, you ready?
All right, this is an inside punty. We don't always punty to the inside of a vessel, but for this is important because they're going to add the stem to the bowl. So it's a tricky, one of those tricky
We're good.
transfers. Went really well.
Sorry? Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Jeff's going to pull the stem, the 3 seahorses on the foot, out of the garage where it's been holding at around 1,000 degrees. Eric's going to start to heat up the little knob on the end there, soften it so they stick together nicely. Yeah, we've used a lot of punties so far because we've had to flip the seahorse around a few times, we flipped the foot around a few times, the cup, the bowl.
Clear bit on there?
Yep,
we've used
yeah,
lots of
clear bit.
punties.
I'll sit down, futz with it one more time. We'll reheat and then we'll do it.
So again, building up the heat and waiting till just the right moment to stick this together.
All right, everybody ready? All right, Chris.
Chris grabs the glue bit. Jeff comes out of the garage, flashes the seahorse stem. It's like a well-oiled machine. Once they stick this glue bit on, Jeff rushes over, sets it down.
That's going to be plenty of glass there.
Eric will stick it right into the center.
All right.
And
Yeah, you can warm it up a little bit if you
quick
want.
flash. Now we can give him a big round of applause.
Oh, you guys are optimists.
He seems so calm. It's like, all right. If I was doing that, you'd hear silence. I'd probably stop breathing for a little bit.
Yeah, Catherine, you have a reputation for being really edgy in the shop. Yeah, this is where that lesson comes into play, right? It doesn't help to get anxious.
Yeah.
All right. What I'm thinking about right now is I don't want to get those green balls too hot because they can get a little wacky real easily. Chris, I think I'm going to take one more heat before we go in on that foot. I've got a little tweaking to do on the foot. We're losing the energy in the punty inside of the cup, and so when you're working like this, you kind of have a expiration time. You can't keep it on there too very long.
I think you'll all be pretty surprised at how easily this
All
will
right,
pop
this time
off.
we'll give it a little touch, and then we may just knock it right off.
These punty connections are very delicate, weak connections. You can't really tell because it's kind of moving around like it'll
All
hold
right,
forever,
go
but
ahead.
that's just movements of years of experience and
Okay, let
moving
me just
really
check
smooth.
the cup.
But this will pop off really easily.
Get off for a second, Chris.
Just making sure everything's running nice.
Yeah, let
and
me take that
straight.
paddle, Chris. I'm going to use that to hit it.
Okay. Jeff gets under it with the forks. A light tap, it pops right off. And into this oven. It's in a annealing oven. It's kept at 900 degrees. The glass is going to come down to room temperature very slowly overnight. A beautiful seahorse compo. That's Eric Meek.
Thanks. Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff Mack, Chris Rochelle, Katie
That's great
Hubbs.
too.
Yeah.
That went
Oh, it
great.
feels good to have that off. Everybody, thanks for tuning in if you're still watching. I really appreciate everybody watching. And yeah, don't forget to enter our little giveaway to win a dolphin or a seahorse yourself, this little guy, by commenting on the YouTube video when it's posted. Everybody, thanks again for tuning in. And thanks everybody for coming to the museum today. Hope you guys enjoy your time here.
Smooth. Very smooth.
Still got it.